All right, number 3, solve the following quadratic equation. So 7x squared plus 11 equals negative 2x. Before we start talking about any methods that we're going to use to do this, I want to make one of my sides of my equation equal to 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over that negative 2x, and I'm going to do that by adding it. So I'm going to get 7x squared plus 2x plus 11 is now equal to 0. Okay, so now we'll start to talk about some methods. So there's a lot of different ways that we can do this, but this is where we could use some of our test-taking strategies, and I could take a look at my options that I have on the left. So if you look at those and you notice anything special about them, they all kind of look like the quadratic formula. So that's what I'm going to use to solve this. So quick refresher of what that is. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. It is essential that you know that. All right, so here we go. So first thing I got to figure out what's a. That's a. That's b. And that is c. All right, so now all we're going to do is we're going to plug those into the formula. So negative b, my b value is 2, plus or minus this long square root of my b value squared, always minus 4. Every single time you use this, it's going to be minus 4. My a value of 7, my my c value of 11. And the whole entire thing is divided by 2 times my a value of 7. There we go. Okay, so now we just got to evaluate it. So I've got x equals negative 2 plus or minus long square root. Let's simplify inside there a little bit. 2 squared is 4. Negative 4 times 7 times 11, if I can use a calculator correctly, will give me negative 308. And the whole thing is divided by 2 times 7, which is 14. All right, not so bad. So let's kind of continue inside the root there. So x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus the long square root. 4 minus 308 is going to give me negative 304, and the whole thing's divided by 14. All right, so at this point I would love to leave it like this, but we always encourage you to never leave a negative underneath the square root. Got a lot of room for this one. I'm going to keep scrolling here. So first thing I'm going to do is I want to get rid of that negative underneath the square root. In order to do that, that's where that magical I is going to come into play, and that's where we're going to pull it out. So this is actually going to turn into, I'm going to leave that negative 2 alone, plus or minus I square root of positive 304, all still divided by 14. All right, that looks a lot better. The last thing I could possibly do, all right, I lied, the second to last thing I could do, is I could see if I could simplify this square root. And that's a whole other video lesson that we could get into, and that's when we'll use that jailbreak method. I'm talking about breaking out of jail, but I don't have time for that, and I don't got the room for that. So if that's something that you're struggling with, make sure you ask your teacher, because what I could do is I could simplify this to be 4i square root of 19, all divided by 14. There we go. Not so bad. Okay, now we are finally on the last step. And this is kind of a tricky one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify these two bubbles that I've drawn. I'm going to simplify those. So I get x is equal to negative 2 divided by 14 would give me negative 1 all over 7. And I've got my plus or minus, and then I've got 4i divided by 14, which if I simplify that out, I could divide them both by 2. So I would get 2i square root of 19, and I've got a 7 on the bottom. So we're good to go. You cannot simplify that any further. So now that we're done, we should go back up, scroll all the way back up to the top here, and take a look at what our options are. And if you notice, they broke it into 2 answers, but letter B matches the work that we have done.